for another Facebook Live. It's hard to believe, but the holidays are here. It's a great time to unwind and relax with family and friends and enjoy nice meals, tasty treats. Unfortunately, though, the holidays are also a time where a lot of us tend to overindulge, and then we go back to school and work in our normal routines feeling not so great. So Ashley Mendoza is a registered dietitian with our Healthy Lifestyle Center, and she's here to give us some tips for healthier eating around the holidays. If you have any questions along the way, drop them in the comments. Thanks, Ashley, for being here. Can we start by talking about what makes the holidays a difficult time for families to stay on track with their nutrition goals?
Yeah, I mean, the holidays in general is a time when there's lots of things going on, right? Everything revolves around food. You have work gatherings, you have social gatherings, you have family gatherings, and it all seems to center around different kinds of foods, and oftentimes they're not maybe the healthiest choices. They tend to be higher in sugar, higher in fat. And I think there's also certain expectations placed on families to participate in those sorts of things. So yeah, I think that's definitely one of the challenges that make it hard. And I think the other thing is that the holidays themselves are maybe a few days, but then it's not just those specific days that you celebrate. It's like up to even like a couple of months worth of celebrating. So there's just lots of opportunities to maybe overindulge, or things that can maybe throw you off your health plans that you have for your family.
Okay. So that said, why is it important for families to make smart decisions when it comes to food and nutrition during the holidays?
Yeah, so I think that for some people, they might see the holidays as a time of like all or nothing thinking, is what we like to call it, where maybe when it's not the holiday time, they're so focused on, I'm gonna like follow some of the health guidelines that I've set for myself and my family, but other times when it's the holidays, they have this other thinking where it's like, you know what, it's the holidays and I'm not really going to worry about following some of these guidelines that I've set. And I think it's an opportunity for families to really work on kind of getting out of that all or nothing and teaching your children how to manage some of those temptations and how to really incorporate healthy eating even when it's through those holiday times. So it's not that all or nothing thinking, and remembering that even though it's the holidays and there might be some other treats and parties and things going on, you still want to focus on choosing foods that are healthy for your body and that keep you feeling good and that are nourishing. And so really just using it as a time for families to role model that and kind of build those habits for later years. And then of course, one of the other things that we know too is that during the holidays it can lead to some weight gain potentially, because they are we eat more, they're higher calorie foods, and over time that can potentially lead to weight gain that's maybe hard to come back from and could potentially lead to some health problems down the road.
Okay. So do you have any tips to help families stay on track during the holidays?
Yeah. So one of the things that we always talk to families about here in the clinic, whether it's the holidays or not the holidays, is the importance of just your overall environment and what's around you, especially your home. So the things that you have around your home, whether it's, do you have around the holidays more cookies set up so that those are cues to eat cookies? Or do you maybe have your house set up so that you have some healthier cues, like you have some of those other fruits or some veggies or some other options available? So just remembering the environment and how that's set up. And then as parents too, your role as a parent and your role in just role modeling healthy behaviors is especially important. And that's for not only smaller kids, like for young children, but also for adolescents and for teenagers. We tend to underestimate the impact that role modeling can actually serve. I think some other tips would be to try to stick to the expectations that you've set around healthy eating that you would normally have for your family every other time of year. So for holiday breaks, a lot of children maybe are out of school and that changes schedules. And sometimes when their schedule changes, that can throw off some of the normal routines. So it's important to stick to some of those guidelines that you've already set for your family, stick to those normal snack times, those normal eating times, and kind of keep those in place. Yeah, and then of course really thinking about like talking to your family, also your teens about, or your children about hunger and fullness cues, just listening to your body, all those types of things. Focusing on not only, enjoying some of those higher sugar, maybe those holiday treats, but also incorporate some of those healthier foods that you as a family like as well.
Right.
So I think there's definitely lots of things that really parents can do with children of all ages to help stay on track during the holidays.
Okay, yeah, good tips. How about sugar? So you mentioned cookies, but it seems like cookies, candy, the sugar right now is everywhere.
Yes.
Do you have some tips to keep sugar intake sort of in check this time of year?
Yeah, you're right. Sugar is all over the place. And I always remind people too that it's not just some of the obvious sugar that we see in like the cookies, but sugar comes in other forms too, whether it's like even in juices and honey, and there's lots of different sources of sugar, but we need to kind of keep an eye on all of it and choose it in moderation. And the point is not to like villainize sugar, but just to know that it's something that does need to be eaten in moderation. And so some tips that I would have would be sometimes the high sugar foods that we go for the holidays might be like your pies, or some of those just highly concentrated sugar options. But trying out some different things, like you can grill fruits. You can choosing like whole fruit options rather than baked with the crust, things like that. I have a friend who was telling me the other day she likes to take a whole apple actually and put it in the microwave. She cores it and puts it in the microwave and then puts some cinnamon on it, and then it kind of cooks it up, and she was going on and on about how good it is. So getting creative with some of those other things. I think also kind of what I mentioned earlier is sticking to some of those limits that you've set around sugar, not really making those an exception, but like if kind of going with, maybe you're a family that likes to have a dessert after dinner, stick with that, right? So it's, even though it's the holidays, we still have the expectation of, all right, it's after dinner, we can have this dessert, but not maybe having like a grazing on sweets that are available in the home all day long. So sticking to some of those expectations. And then the other thing I would say is beverages. That tends to be one of the top sugar sources that we get. So keeping an eye on some of the beverages that we get over the holidays. Some things that come to mind for me would be like eggnog, ciders, those sorts of things for teens, but for children. You can also do other things though, like infused waters can be really delicious. Where you just take plain old water and you add fruit to it, and it just kind of, you can make it like more of the seasonal fruits. So that can be kind of fun. So focusing on some of those other lower sugar beverages can make a big difference too.
Okay. So talking about swapping out, some less healthy options for something maybe a little bit better for us. A lot of people are going to be bringing in their favorite recipes and their favorite holiday dishes. Do you have any thoughts on some common ingredients that maybe we could swap out for something a little bit better?
Yeah, so there's always room, especially when it comes to maybe non-baked good items. There's typically things that you can do that make it healthier. Sometimes it's not even swaps, sometimes it's just adjusting the ratio of the ingredients that you have. So like if you have casseroles or other things, those can be very forgiving as far as adjusting ratios. So I always encourage families to take a look at the amount of veggies that you have in there, and you can boost it. Like just increase the number of vegetables that's currently in there, or even add new veggies that aren't in the recipe. And just by doing that, you're gonna lower the calories per serving and then boost that nutrition so much. Other things that you can adjust would be things like cheeses and creams and those sorts of things that can add a lot of saturated fats and a lot of calories. And so even just decreasing the amount of cheese that's called for in the recipe, you can generally do that even like by 25-50% sometimes, and it doesn't really affect the recipe a whole lot. Or maybe put some more on top so that way you taste it a little bit more versus what goes inside of it. Some other swaps would be simple things like, I know like Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt instead of sour cream a lot of times, or if you're doing mashed potatoes, maybe instead of cream cheese, that sort of thing, you can incorporate more of the plain Greek yogurt instead, and that'll also increase the protein as well, increase your nutrition too. So there's lots of different things that you can do to adjust and make it a little bit healthier.
Yeah, something definitely to keep in mind. How can we make healthy eating fun for families during the holidays?
Yeah. So I am always a fan of just getting the whole family involved, right?
Okay.
So especially in all sorts of things. So actually kids and teenagers like to have some autonomy in what they're choosing, and then also how something is being prepared. So just getting them more involved with it, they found that the more you involve teens, actually the more likely they are to make healthier choices. So getting them involved in the meal planning, getting them involved in the grocery shopping, doing some age-appropriate roles when you're cooking, whether it's stirring, chopping, those sorts of things. I think now is also a good time to do fun things around, like, let's go to like an orchard or somewhere and pick some fruit, or go to a farmer's market and involve some of those family activities around that too. Maybe doing like a holiday cooking class together. Other things I think of would be kind of getting creative around, like, maybe you can do a holiday cooking competition with your family, or making like a healthy pizza, individual pizzas, and creating like who can make the best holiday design with the veggies that we have. So involving some different competitions in that way. It takes a little creativity, but you can definitely incorporate some new things that go with the holidays, but also make it healthier as well.
Yeah. I think most parents out there are happy to share the load of the meal planning and cooking too.
Yeah. And it develops really great skills, so it's still that role modeling too. So going back to that and developing those habits for later on down the road too.
Great. Can we talk a little bit about physical activity? So maybe we can counterbalance a little bit of the holiday food with some more physical activity. Do you have any thoughts or tips on incorporating physical activity this time of year?
Well, Richmond has a lot of great places, I think, that you can go, whether, if you live next to a park, that's of course always a good option.
Yeah.
I always like if everybody can get up and go, depending on the day of what things are open, but like Maymont Zoo can be a great place that you would go and just go for a walk. Take the family out to look at, for a walk to look at Christmas lights, that sort of thing. Maybe it's even afterwards doing a scavenger hunt, or playing a game of tag, or doing something. It kind of depends on where you are and what your location is. It could even be getting out the Wii, if you have a Wii. I know a lot of families that I've worked with have that, and that's kind of their go-to, get up and moving and doing something. But make it an exploration day, just going out into the city, walking around, getting creative. Yeah.
Maybe ice skating?
Exactly, yeah, that's a great idea. That's an awesome idea.
Great. Do you have anything that we missed or that you would add for families to keep in mind?
Yeah, I think just some of just the overall biggest tips, like I said, is just focus on the environment, but you also want to make it fun, figure out that balance, maybe not kind of thinking in that middle area, not that black or white or all or nothing thinking, but how can you enjoy the holidays, make it fun for your family, but also incorporate some of those healthy habits that you want to instill in your family for years to come.
Yeah.
And
we'll all feel better in January for it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for joining us. Happy holidays.